they making right here, right behind me. He's looking for a feeder I used to have here. And then there's a clay-colored thrush calling. And the louder call you probably will hear in the background, it's a gray-tailed grackle, which I have one right here. Let's see what happens. Oh, he's moving.
Thrush is your national bird.
There goes the hummingbird, rufous-tailed hummingbird.
Yeah.
The grackle is
tailed is like what the ruby-throat is for us. It's pretty common out there.
Yeah, if I move a little bit, probably we'll be able to get some northern jacanas because it was rainy yesterday, and then they are foraging in a field right across the road. This great-tailed grackle is not a nice bird, but we will use it just to try how's the scope stuff. Oh well, I have to switch them.
No one's joined yet. You don't have a waiting room, right?
People have been joining later and later, so I don't know.
Okay.
Hopefully, I just reposted the link and of course started recording, so. Ooh, what do we got in the scope?
It's moving, he's walking, but he's not making the things easy.
Oh, that's the grackle?
Yeah, the grackle. I'm just trying to see how it looks. Yeah. But I will wait for a.
That's a lifer for everybody, I'm sure.
Oh, good. Someone got on. The link works.
Okay. Sam,
we'll get back to now.
I went to Costa Rica with Indiana Audubon a year ago that are probably going to join in, such as Julie.
Ooh, cool. Morning, Julie.
Good morning, Julie. I know Julie.
Mute here. Maybe.
There, she's unmuted.
I'm not muted anymore. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Nice to see you.
It's good to see you too. Your hair's longer.
Yeah, great. Yeah,
you got a mustache.
Yeah, I have to look wiser some way. So, what a better way than a mustache?
Mm-hmm.
I bit the bullet and got a haircut about a week ago, and we had to all wear masks and get access into the salon, and realized I had last cut my hair like December 28th before I went to Florida for January, and so it was getting pretty bad. I got I probably could have blocks for loves or something.
Ooh, morning, Patty. I think people have just been progressively joining like later and later past the 10, so we'll give them a few minutes. Oh, Patty, you are muted. Let me unmute you.
Totally.
There you go.
I totally missed a staff meeting yesterday. I didn't have it on my calendar. I have 2 part-time jobs. I work from home, and I'm like, and Jerry emailed me later. He goes, I missed you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. You know what? I got to get it. I'm going back in the office at least to one of them in 2 weeks. I think that'll help me more, but it was just the weirdest. I'm like, I never miss anything. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I looked at my calendar. I didn't see it. He goes, well, I didn't send a reminder. And I said, that's probably why. This is just the weirdest thing. So anyway, I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We are good. Juan's already on. You can hear all those birds in the background.
yeah, they were getting in. I'm sorry about that.
No. You don't have to talk. It's great.
We're very excited. I'm very excited about this one.
We had did a little live stream event for a group called This Week in Birding, talking about some longshore flights, and I was vacationing that week in Memorial Day in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan at Houghton and along this big waterway, and all of the urban ring-billed gulls were screaming for food in the background while I was trying to talk, and it was a little difficult to hear me.
Yeah, they were, Brad. I was on that call and I could hear them, and they were. You could see them in the back behind you.
We just had to keep muting myself when I wasn't talking.
It was a beautiful sight, though, to be honest. It was nice to, just to be outside.
Right before COVID kind of hit, I went to the movies with a friend and I was waiting outside for her, and there was about like 60 ring-billed gulls in the parking lot of the movie theater eating popcorn that people had thrown. And I said, does this count as gulling? They were like everywhere. It's insane.
Should we give people a few more minutes?
Yeah, we can give a couple more minutes.
All right, cool. Usually we have like 10-ish people at least, so.
Of course, we have a situation now where folks are starting to go back to work or have to go back to work.
It's true. Darn that work stuff, huh?
Yeah. Well, so now next week next week on Wednesday, it's in the evening, right? I know I can't do that one, but
Yeah.
so, but then you'll alternate with the 10 a.m., right? On the dates that you guys, okay, perfect.
Yes, correct. Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Next week we have Hannah and Eric. Do they have a last name, Brad, or they don't advertise the last name? Hannah and Eric.
It's like blue shirts or something.
Okay, I was trying to look. I'm like, oh well, I'm just gonna call them Hannah and Eric from Hannah and Eric Go Birding podcast. They'll be joining us next Wednesday evening. Morning, Kristen. Sorry, we did not say good morning to you. Well, since we're waiting for people, so we have Juan already on from Costa Rica, since we can't actually travel there. I was thinking the other day, where if COVID wasn't happening, was anyone supposed to go anywhere or do anything birding wise or other travels? I feel like I want to travel extra just because I can't.
I think 3 of us were supposed to go to Ecuador with Juan. I keep like my countdown calendar still set up for Ecuador, and I'm like, oh, I get sad when I look at it.
Yeah, that's a big bummer. I had kind of forgotten about Ecuador after we had decided we had to cancel it, and then Jen reminded me last night. How's that feel? You're supposed to be in Ecuador. Shut up.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah.
But well, we can still think in the future. Ecuador is going to be there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Will you host that next year then?
Yeah, so our Ecuador trip was just postponed 1 year.
Okay. Good.
Identical dates in June, and so no doubt we'll have a couple openings for people that might want to go next year, and hopefully by that time there'll be some sort of vaccine available to folks, and then we'll continue to roll out some of our international trips. They'll just probably all be postponed a year, and things are changing. So we still have on the books a trip to Thailand that Indiana Audubon will be doing. And again, that's been pushed back a full year as well. So that'll be, I think, early 2022. And we are looking at a Colombia trip and probably a return to Costa Rica as well.
Okay.
So looking at going out to like 2023 at that point. So there should be a vaccine by 2023, I would hope.
Is the Costa Rica trip going to be the same area that we traveled last time, or would it be a different area?
Let's ask our guide. And so I think we'll go back to Costa Rica again. So the last trip we did was kind of a joint consultation with Juan and myself on I wanted to make sure that the visit and if we do another Costa Rica trip, my vision of it would be the Costa Rica 2023, the Juan Diego special, and have pick, the best route to maximize, all the great things to see in the country and the time span that we have. But, if you were to change anything, Juan, how would you do a trip like that?
Well, that's a good question. Last time we focused a little bit in the South Pacific, which is a great area, with a lot of endemics. I'm mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. So I will say probably going a little bit more toward north. I mean, there's the area where I'm native. I mean, where I'm sitting right now. This is the Caribbean lowlands. So we can do a little bit more of this. We can go a little bit farther north to the wetlands. So I will say probably focusing a little bit more on like, off the beaten path and getting some of the specialties of the foothills as well. I would love to show you this, really good stuff like umbrella birds, bare neck umbrella bird or yellow-eared toucanet. These are like harder birds, and I think it will be fun to give them a chase. You fail them 50% of the time, but well, you have chances to get them too. So maybe something more like toward foothills and Caribbean wetlands. It would be pretty fun,
Sounds kind of ho-hum.
Hello. How are you doing?
Yeah. And
By the way, I have a yellow-eared toucanet here in the cup.
Hey, there we go. Hopefully you can do a little better for owls than our last trip.
I will work as hard as possible, and I will have a map this time.
Oh, yeah.
We won't have any in the middle of the night hikes.
We probably will have many of those, but this time I will have my GPS on.
For those that weren't on that Costa Rica trip, Juan found, I think, 10 or 11 species of owls in Costa Rica in just a few days. And had we not got lost on the trail one night, we wouldn't have got the nightjar that we heard.
Mm-hmm. Dusky nightjar, yeah.
And nightjar was calling.
And we were chasing the unspotted saw-whet owl.
And then that allowed us to have a late dinner at a little roadside rest stop, and head back down the road, and we got to hear the tooting of an unspotted saw-whet owl, which is an identical tooting to the northern saw-whet owl that we have up here.
Yeah, that was quite a hike.
So Sam is also live streaming on our Facebook page, so you may be joining us there. You're welcome to go to the Zoom link. Also, if you want to actually join in and be able to, we can hear your voice and you can comment in real time. Facebook runs about 8-second delay, but we do have a note from Carol Goodall saying that she'll be back in Costa Rica in 2023 if she's still alive.
Good. We'll be here to welcome you.
Nothing to shoot for. Be alive in 2023. I think that's all good. All good.
All right, well, we're like 15 minutes in, so some people might trickle in and join us, but welcome everyone. Coffee and COrVIDs, Costa Rica birding session with Juan Diego, who's joining us and has all the awesome bird song calls. He is from Lifer Nature Tours, and if you were just listening, led the Costa Rica trip, was it last year, I believe? The Indiana Audubon Society, so talking about going back for the future. But just to kick you off, I have a little trivia. You don't have to do it in the chat. We can just do it live. So what I did was, this is a true or false, and picking birds that we have here in Indiana. So true or false, whether they winter down in Costa Rica. So if you want to just say it out loud or get a piece of paper and write true, false, it's totally up to you. But I just have a few. It'll be okay. I see some weary faces. All right, what are we thinking about the Baltimore Oriole? True or false, does it winter in Costa Rica? True. Yes, you are correct. It is true. The Baltimore Oriole does winter down in Costa Rica. All right. What about the dark-eyed junco? Does that winter down in Costa Rica? True or false?
False.
False is the correct answer. It does not winter down there. What about the ruby-throated hummingbird? True or false? True. Yes, it is true. They got all the hummingbirds down there, right? Has to go there sometime. All right. What about the black and white warbler? Does that winter in Costa Rica?
True.
True or false? The answer is true. Yeah, he's like, yes, it does. Black and white warbler does winter down in Costa Rica. What about the black-throated blue warbler? Does that winter down in Costa Rica? The answer is false. It does not winter down in Costa Rica. What about, we'll just continue warblers. What about the Nashville warbler? True or false? Does it winter down in Costa Rica? Any guesses? No idea. False. It does not winter down in Costa Rica. Nashville warbler does not.
Nashville? Okay.
Nashville.
Well, I have a few notes about that, but I don't know if I'm getting too specific.
Have they been spotted there?
Or we have migrants.
Is as a super rare migrant. I mean, there's definitely one record for last maybe 50 or 80 years, but there's a few specimens in the Museum of Nashville warbler and black-throated blue. So they have been here. They don't come regularly, but they are probably extremely rare.
Cool. Awesome.
But well, yeah. I mean, you shouldn't count it. Yes, you're right. Probably they don't spend winter here.
Right. I have a few more. What about the common yellowthroat? Does it winter in Costa Rica? Yeah, I put true. Is that correct, Juan?
Yeah, it's correct.
Okay, good.
Right.
I was getting mixed. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely
Okay,
right.
true. It is down. The common yellowthroat is down in Costa Rica.
They like the wetlands a lot, yeah.
What about the blue-winged teal? True or false? Is that winter down in Costa Rica?
Teal.
The answer is yes, true. They are down in Costa Rica for the winter. What about the red-breasted merganser? True or false? Got a lot of no's. That is correct. It does not. So these guys said their wintering grounds were on the coast of North America. So that was kind of interesting. And then I got two left. What about the summer tanager? Yes, that is down, wintering down in Costa Rica. And what about the belted kingfisher? They are down in Costa Rica, yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, I'm coming down to Costa Rica then.
I basically got everything. It was harder
Yeah.
for me to find the no's than the yeses.
One more I could think of. How about the Kirtland's warbler?
Are you asking to me?
I'm not asking everybody else. Kirtland's warbler. Does it winter in Costa Rica? And I see
No,
shaking.
no.
Juan, how many Kirtlands have you seen in Costa Rica?
I have never seen a Kirtland's warbler in my life, and I would love to see one.
That was one of the advantages of having Juan possibly come up to the Indiana Dunes Birding Festival this year is in addition to some of the tours, we were going to take him up there and make sure he saw a Kirtland's warbler before he leaves. We'll
Yeah.
So we had it planned to take him up to the to Grayling as soon as the festival was done to get him a lifer Kirtland's.
That would have been awesome.
That would have been cool. Next year.
Where do they winter?
Bahamas. Strictly the Bahamas.
I tried to look it up.
Cool.
Well, I always say that that's my American dream. You know, see the warblers singing and, you know, with breeding plumages, because all we get here is all plain plumages and not singing, only chip notes. And that's all you get out of a yellow warbler or all a chestnut-sided warbler. So I have no idea they, you know, use their bill for anything else.
Yeah, winter blackpolls suck.
Really.
Awesome.
That's really interesting, because I wouldn't have even thought of that. So when they're coming to visit you, Juan, they really are not, they don't have their colors, they don't have their breeding, they don't have even their voices. So you get a drab well, most of what Sam said were warblers on that true and false. So I never thought of it that way. That would be, would it be difficult? Well, let's say for somebody like Brad, who's done a lot of both, would it be hard for you to find them, Brad, if you were down with Juan, because you're used to seeing them in their spring migration?
We're a little spoiled. So when we're watching warblers, once they've arrived into the Midwest, they're in full song, they're in full spring plumage, and the trees are still leafing out too. So it's easier to even find them up in the trees. And so we watch at a lot of these bird festivals where we get these like tropical birding guides, like Juan or from other countries that come up and they laugh at us that it's so hard to get these birds, but you know, they're used to, so it's a different style of birding where they've had to learn to bird when you have the fuller foliage and you're not just learning songs. But what I've been impressed with folks like Juan and that live down there is that, you know, they learn the individual chip notes. And so there's a far difference between a yellow-rump warbler versus a water thrush chip note or a yellow warbler chip note. And they can hear that chip note and say, that's a yellow warbler, that's a yellow throat. And that's something that we can do too. We just don't tend to focus on it because we're focusing on the songs. But as you advance as a birder, you can start developing this repertoire of chip notes, and you start recognizing. And there's, I would say, 8 to 10 warblers that I hear today that I can recognize by their chip note. But I'm sure Juan can do far more with different chip notes, just because it's kind of a forced necessity that he has to do that.
Yeah, totally right. I mean, I can perfectly tell when the yellow warbler arrives here because of its chip note that is pretty distinctive. Same thing with the water thrushes. You know, water thrushes are chip notes. That's what I know about a water thrush. And it's, yeah, it's challenging. It's pretty challenging because, and you never, you know, here in the tropics, when I grew up birding, you never pay much attention to the warblers. You know, I started, you know, thinking about warblers when I see all these advertisements and all these beautiful paintings and photographs of the warblers in the US. Because down here, a chestnut-sided warbler is all gray and olive. So you never put attention to them. But then when you see one that is about to leave with the breeding plumage, you say, wow, that's a really nice bird, you know. But it's just a few, you know, weeks before they, you know, leave back to the US. So other than that, I mean, they are pretty plain and pretty rare, some of them, because we get, you know, like some populations of like chestnut-sided warbler, yellow warbler is pretty common, Tennessee warbler. But then the really colorful ones, you know, like a black-throated blue or Cape May or stuff like that, they are quite rare. You know, you get them in very low numbers, and when you get one, it's pretty plain. So yeah, it's frustrating, and I always see these pictures of the birds with the open bill, you know, singing on top of a branch with the beautiful plumage. And I say, well, where'd they take those, you know? How they do that? That's a really impossible picture, you know? But then you realize they are somewhere else doing their beautiful things.
Yeah. Let me ask.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
I
Patty.
just wanted to ask Juan a real quick question, because you mentioned that you can see part of their plumage right before they leave, because they're getting ready to leave. Like for you, when is that when they're headed up our way? Is that January, February?
No, that will be like right now, like probably a couple of weeks ago. I had a really nice chestnut-sided warbler. You know, like normally by the beginning of May, you know, or late March, you start seeing birds changing their plumage and getting prettier and prettier. And yeah, it's gonna be like by the time they are arriving on your side, probably the late ones that are departing late from here, they are already getting, you know, it's a cycle they have in their organisms. So they will start, you know, getting more beautiful. Sometimes you even heard a little bit of their songs before they leave, like in early May. Sometimes you heard a little bit of a song, you know, one or two birds, and then, or you heard something you cannot recognize, you know, like something you say, well, it's strange, I cannot tell this. And then you see a chestnut-sided warbler making something, or a yellow warbler making something, or Baltimore Oriole. I heard that a lot in Baltimore Orioles before they leave.
Excellent. So I actually want to ask a couple questions. Since we have Juan, we should probably introduce him as one of the founders of Lifer Nature Tours, which is a great organization running out of Costa Rica that does trips not only in Costa Rica, but brings together a lot of different guides that kind of helps bring together the actual birding guides with the connections to the different reservation systems and able to get out and market to the people. And he's reporting today from up in Costa Rica. And Juan, you live about an hour or so east of the Arenal areas, as I recall. But tell us a little bit, just a brief introduction of where you're at, what the birding is, and what it is that you do there.
Well, yeah, thank you for the kind words. Yes, well, I'm right now in Costa Rica. I'm in my backyard, which, as you're right, I'm located about an hour southeast of Arenal volcano. Like I will say, like, give us an maybe easier reference for bird watchers, like in between Arenal volcano and La Selva biological station. So the ecosystem is Caribbean lowlands, so it's hot and it's nice. And what we do here, well, we run a company that is basically an association of a lot of local guides. It's called Lifer Nature Tours. It's basically a platform for all the guides, you know, because it's hard, you know, when you're a bird guide here, you grew up, you know, catching birds, like in my case, or you know, like just walking in the woods. But it's really hard to set up all this reservation system and have everything, you know, the numbers right. So what we do, it's basically we offer a platform to all local guides that want to use that to do their own trips. So a lot of the trips we offer is basically planned by the guides, designed by the guides in the field, and then we help them with all the administrative part with Lifer Nature Tours. And then we run tours. We run tours in Costa Rica. We run tours in Panama, Ecuador. We do a lot Ecuador. We do Colombia. And also last year we started with Brazil as well, Atlantic rainforest and Pantanal. So this is basically what we do. And yeah, I mean, we are here in the field. We're not in an office, but we run an office in Costa Rica. The main office is in Costa Rica, and we have, you know, people working computers and myself too. You know, and that's how we run all these reservation systems and all the deals with the companies, with the hotels. And
sure. You said Brazil. Does that include Iguazu? Because I'm looking for a spring break trip.
We are not including Iguazu at the moment. We have our local partner there. He usually do Argentina as well. You know, that's the Ibera marshes, and he's from like southern part of Atlantic rainforest, so it's not that far from that area. So I'm sure he can add that to an extension pretty easily.
So obviously we're not in Costa Rica right now, and in fact legally we cannot even enter Costa Rica in the month of June. So rumor is there's a little virus going around that might be even affecting folks as far away as Costa Rica from us. Tell us about what's been going on in Costa Rica related to it for you guys.
A virus? Really? I thought it was spring migration.
Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, the virus is affecting everywhere, and it's also here. The the main problem is now, international flight. We cannot receive anybody from anywhere in any way. Ports are closed, airports are closed. And that's probably the main issue at the moment, because a lot of the country works with tourism, including myself. So we've been, stopped completely for, since March, pretty much. Everything is canceled. Everything is postponed, actually. And that's what we're trying. We are getting ready for next year. And then one of the positive aspects, I don't know if you have read it about this, but Costa Rica, it's been the most successful country in Latin America, and I will probably say of the continent, to contain the virus. So numbers are actually extremely low now, for the average of the region. And we have a little bit over 1,000 cases right now, but only 10 deaths. So it's the lowest mortality rate in Latin America. So we are containing the virus pretty well, and it's all thanks to a very developed and detailed system of public health care, and of course, strong regulations, as you know.
Well, yeah, we've been seeing some articles that have been talking about, here's the places to go once things open up, and Costa Rica is one of those, just because, the number of cases for the last few weeks has been literally like in the single digits per day. And so definitely there's been a lot lower levels in other Central or South American countries, such as Ecuador, which is where we were going to go, which is one of the highest cases in South America. So now that you are stuck at home and you're not out traveling all around doing tours, what are some of the June birding highlights that you're seeing right outside your door today?
Yeah, sure. Well, I will say probably the main thing here in June, it's the breeding season. Birds are nesting all over. So I've been seeing, baby birds here and there, and then bird nesting, because, nesting, it's something very, very important here in the tropics, and very active, and very emotional, because there is a lot of predation here. There's a lot of predators. So the birds tend to build one nest right outside my house here, and then it gets predated by a snake or by a domestic cat, and then they will do it again and again and again. So you see birds, actively trying to do more nests, because the rainy season is just around the corner. So that's another great thing to see in June, the first rains. And there's an outbreak of insects all over. So birds will be trying to get all that insects for their babies before it's too late. Because if it rains too much, then you don't have enough insects, because it's just too much rain, too much water. So there's a lot of activity at this moment in the neotropics, and of course in Costa Rica here, in my yard as well.
What are some of the specifics that you're hearing today?
Okay, good. I don't know how well you can hear. There's a lot of yellow belly alenia. Now, let me see if I can put this. There's a dove in here. I'll use my scope for this. 1 second. This is there are a few cars there too, because
Oh. Anybody need your life for a white-winged dove? Me. He may or may not realize he put himself on mute to show us that.
there you have it. Yes, that's a white-winged dove. You're right, Brad. Oh, there it goes. It flew away.
They have an interesting.
Well,
I like their cooing.
Not a rare sighting, but there are a few birds here and there. Yeah, most birds are nesting. So plumages are not very, very nice right now because everybody's focused on, you know, making their nest. All the tail of most birds are all destroyed, and that's another fun thing to see here. You know, you see a lot of great-tailed grackles with no tail, so they look like rounded balls flying all over the sky. So, yeah, tough season for the birds, I will say. June, Costa Rica. You know, they are working hard.
You had posted some videos yesterday of a juvenile or a bird that was just out of its nest. Looked very different than dad looks. Do you remember that one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's also another interesting thing to see here in June. It's that as there's a lot of babies out there, you know, the adults will be all worried flying around. Babies normally get this very well, you know, subtle plumages, normally with fades of green or dark, you know, olive, just to get better camouflage. So I will say that's probably one reason why all these juvenile birds have different plumages, you know, because they come out of the nest. It's a very dangerous situation out there. So they all try to camouflage as good as possible on the grass and the trees. And they look very different to the fathers because like yesterday's bird, it was all olive, you know, and the father of that bird is a yellow crown euphonia, and it's all blue with yellow, beautiful striking color.
When you can get out of your house, what are, you know, so Costa Rica literally for us is about the size of the state of West Virginia. So it seems like something you could easily cover in a day of birding, but you'd find that it's very much not. Both the terrain and all the amazing different birding ecoregions within one country. So if you were to go around, what is your favorite place to bird in Costa Rica?
Favorite place to bird will be probably Caribbean foothills, you know, because that's an area between lowlands, like where I'm right now. Just 1 second. Lowlands where I'm right now, and highlands, you know, where the top of the mountains are. You know, in between that area, we call it the foothills. You know, Caribbean foothills is, to me, one of the most interesting ecosystems because it's a mixture. You know, birds move up and down, and there are some birds that are specifically adapted to migrate, you know, up and down in the mountain. And those birds are normally the ones we refer as, you know, quite rare birds. You know, we're talking about what I was saying before: bird neck umbrella bird, do that, white ruffed manakin, white crowned manakin. Oh, sorry.
Who do we?
Sorry about the truck. There's some big trucks coming on the road close by. So, but yeah, Caribbean foothills, I will say, is probably my favorite, one of my favorite ecosystems to bird watch. Like Arenal volcano area, I would love to go there again, and also a Tenorio volcano area, which is another foothills, and all that area. Also, is very chilly. You know, it's kind of a fresh. It's not cold. You don't need jackets. It's just, you know, perfect weather. You have been there, you know, Kristen and Julie and Brad, and you know, its temperature is perfect in there. So that's one of the areas I love.
If you weren't there, where would you go next?
Well, probably wetlands up in the north, something close to the border, you know, because it's, to me, part of the adventure is finding new rare stuff, you know, in the country within the limits. So if I do any birding by myself, you know, with my own time, I probably will focus on trying to find something new for the country, something unusual.
Do you have a favorite bird?
Sorry again?
You have a favorite bird of Costa Rica?
Well, that's a tough question. So many. Well, I love the swifts. I will say probably because they are challenging and they are, you know, fast. They basically have no legs. You know, they have these tiny little legs. They cannot walk. So I kind of have an attraction for swifts. And if I have to pick up one swift, I will probably pick up white collar swift as the biggest and fastest of all swifts, you know, or spot-fronted swift, which is rare and cool and not well known. Probably swifts will be my favorite one.
Not yellow-billed cotingas.
Yellow-billed cotingas. Well, cotingas in general are, they are lovely. Even they are named. Well, there's one named Lovely Cotinga, so they are that lovely. So and all cotingas are amazing. Yellow-billed cotinga is spectacular and is rare, and they fly over your head all the time. You probably know that, and they are very interesting, but probably a little bit more, the typical, wonderful bird. And I'm probably more leaning toward the unusual favorite bird.
Mm-hmm. I should mention.
And I have.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, one. Yeah, sorry, one. I'll try it. Do this again. I have a little bird here that it would be a nice to see. Let's see if it stays there for. Oh, 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Almost ready. There you have it. Hard to see it, yes, but
ooh, look at that.
this is live.
Is it a blue-gray?
Costa Rica. Look at that. Look at that head pipe. It's quite chic, unusual.
So we're looking at a blue-gray.
Getting.
Correct?
Yeah, correct. Blue-gray tanager.
What was that? You said blue-gray tanager?
Blue wings there. It has a blue-gray color, but look the state.
We lost your video, Juan.
Beautiful.
It has something in there. Probably.
You're
Oh, there it goes.
Yes, Patty. It's blue-gray tanager. When you're able to join us in Costa Rica, you'll find it's actually one of the more common tanagers throughout the country.
He's a beautiful bird, though. Wow. Looking.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Blue-gray tanagers. We call it in Spanish viudita, like widow in Spanish. I don't know, not sure why. I mean, probably they move because they move, by themselves. There's a popular saying of a blue-gray tanager coming by itself at your house. So, if it's coming alone, it's because it lost the husband. So they call it the widow. I don't know. But the blue-gray tanager is true. It's one of the most common tanagers of the country. They visit the feeders regularly, and they nest close to the houses. So I have a nest of a blue-gray tanager just a couple of weeks ago, just right behind my house here.
Really awesome.
That one that we saw has something on its face. It's probably what I was telling you. They are nesting. They are, working hard to keep the babies up. So they probably don't feed that well, or they have issues with a predator to protect their babies. And then that's normal to see, birds with, some missing feathers or some injuries at this time of the year.
Excellent. Cool. And actually, we're here live today on our Coffee and COrVIDs with Juan Diego Vargas of Life or Nature Tours in Costa Rica. So if you're here with us on the Zoom, feel free to yell out questions or type them in the chat box here, as well as if you're watching on Facebook. About an 8-second delay, but you can still type in some questions there, and we'll communicate it here. And even after today's session, if you have any questions and you post them on the Facebook page, we will get them to Juan, and he can see them and help answer those as well, as we look forward to being able to return to the Costa Rica again with Indiana Audubon to do some great birding. But one other thing I have is tell me, I don't know if the virtual background is going to allow me to show this, but tell me about this, Juan. I got this sitting on my shelf. Can you, can I get it? There it is. You know that book?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, sure. I remember that. Yeah, very well.
So
that's a kid's book we have in Costa Rica, coloring kids book that has stories about a toucan and about other birds in an adventure looking for what? For color?
Hard to see it on the virtual background, but yeah. So your name's in this book, as I recall.
Yeah, we work on that book hard. Yeah, my ideas, I mean, are there too, because that's an interesting story. Because the guys, yeah, I remember that too. And the thing is, this lady that is a Mexican living in Costa Rica married with an Italian that was living in Costa Rica. Both great guys, and they had this idea to make a book for kids, you know, that shows the birds. They can get interested in the birds and wildlife of Costa Rica. But then they started drawing and hiring a lady to draw all that. But all the, you know, they talked to me about that, and they showed me a picture of, you know, one of the birds, and I mean a drawing of one of the birds, and it was, you know, some colors were wrong. And I said, well, you know, it's wonderful, but you know, this, you know, Kill Bill toucan it's not that tone of green, you know, it's not orange in the bill. And I start saying things like that, and then they said, well, you know, why you don't help us to correct all that so the kids can learn the things actually right, you know, the right colors, the right shapes, the right species. So, and then they started, you know, we started with this project, and then I was just basically, you know, giving them the assistance to, you know, draw the right species, use the right species for the kids to learn. And then that's how that project started. And yeah, it's very cool. One sad thing about that is that both guys, I mean, that couple, Italian and Mexican, they passed away in the last 2 years. So they are gone now. The book's still there, but yeah, that's pretty sad. So we worked 3 books together. Yeah, one of national parks, that one, and another one of natural events. And we were working on a natural history of Costa Rican birds, but that project is stopped right now.
Oh, yeah. So that was Yasmin Ross and Maria Valdez.
Well, there was Jasmine Ross was the main author, but the other, it was the husband, that is Luciano Capelli. Oh, I have a good bird here.
Okay.
One second.
That goes in your birding. All right.
These all count on my life list, right? Because I'm basically there.
If you haven't got your eBird checklist,
put it on eBird.
Go ahead.
Check this out. Here got a competition. It's gone.
Got a woodpecker, right?
Yes, you're right. And look at what chased the woodpecker away is this big guy there. Oh, well, out of focus. This guy chased the woodpecker away. This is the mad face. This is the great-tailed grackle. It's a female or a juvenile male. It's all brown. Adult males should be all black, glossy blue, while juveniles or females are mostly brown. This looks like a juvenile male. It has really long tail, and it's kind of starting getting, you know, bluish in the back. He wants the banana. He chased the good woodpecker away. The woodpecker was a black cheek woodpecker, which is a Caribbean specialty here, you know, in Costa Rica. He was there for a few seconds, but then
yeah, we got a little look at it.
This guy chased it away. Good. You can take a screenshot, and then it's gonna be your picture, basically.
Load it on the checklist because Juan Diego is an eBird reviewer for Costa Rica.
Does that count for 3 for us as lifers up here in Indiana?
3 lifers.
Yeah, please.
Does that count? Does that count, Juan? I don't know. I'm writing it down though. I mean, I will post it, but
go ahead and report it in Indiana because I don't want to review that.
No, I won't report it in Indiana. Okay, we got another thing. It's getting.
Oh, we got some action here. There's another bird coming in. Look! Oh, it's gone. Another one came in. And this is a bird that is interesting to talk about. This is the national bird of Costa Rica.
Okay.
Yellow-billed, kind of reddish eye. You get this bird in the U.S., right, Brad?
It comes just into Texas, yeah.
Just into Texas, yes.
What is it? What is it?
Okay.
Yellow bill?
It's
Juan?
called clay-colored thrush. Clay-colored thrush. It used to be clay-colored robin. Then they switched all the robins to thrushes. So now the clay-colored thrush is the national bird of Costa Rica. The big question is why? And I think the true answer is that the politicians of that time, they didn't know anything about birds. So they put the bird that was most common in their yards, and that was the clay-colored thrush. There is more romantic stories. There's more romantic stories about the clay-colored thrush, you know, that they sing, they have beautiful voices, like most thrushes. So a lot of people think that it's because of their beautiful voice that they were designed as the national bird of Costa Rica, because they used to sing before the first rain. So the farmers used to guide, you know, their farming practices by hearing the clay-colored thrushes singing. And then it was very important part, you know, became very important part of the Costa Rican folklore. And that's one of the reasons they said is why it's designed as the national bird of the country. Although I think there's a lot of better birds that does the same. And you know, you can choose black-faced solitaire, and come on, it's a much better call. But they decided this one. And I think it's just probably because it's pretty common in Central Valley and everywhere.
Yeah, you're gonna see it in downtown San Jose as well. So, Carla, she makes a comment on Facebook that interesting that they're eating bananas because when a lot of the neotropics arrive here in Indiana, they will readily go for grape jelly or orange. But I have tried, even after seeing in Costa Rica some of the different fruits that they were eating there, that the same birds like Tennessee warblers and scarlet tanagers and summer tanagers, they don't tend to, I put out bananas for them up here, and I put out pineapples, but they don't tend to like any of that kind of fruit once they get up here to the breeding ground. I don't know if they've switched over more for insects, but they don't tend to really want some of that other fruit outside of oranges and grape jelly. In Costa Rica, they readily go for bananas, right?
Yeah, well, bananas are the top attractor here. You know, it's what attracts the birds. And not any banana. You know, you have to pick up your bananas carefully, because there's one variety that is a native, you know, local variety that has a very thick peel and is much more sweet than this one, than regular. What I have here is not the best banana. I have plantain there. You know, you can use, you know, regular banana does not work that much because it's too soft. And then when they start picking, it falls down. Then the plantain, you know, resists a little bit more, but it's not that tasty. But that other type of banana that grows wild here, that's the best. I mean, I couldn't find it for today, but that's what works the best here. And I will say, I don't have a, you know, right answer for why they like bananas here. I know I've seen that when I put oranges in the feeder, I get, well, you know, in wintering season, I get more Baltimore Orioles getting to the oranges, you know, and I never or rarely get summer tanagers, but I get them equally on oranges and bananas. And for most of the local tanagers, they by far they prefer banana, and you know, talking about all type of bananas and watermelon and papaya. But I think they can get used to pretty much any fruit, you know, if you put it regularly here.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions right now for Juan that are with us on Zoom?
Well, I have a question if you, in regards to those bananas, Juan, well, the plantain, which we can get here, I mean, I know you can get it special order or whatever at Whole Foods, but is that, I mean, could we put that out on our feeders, and would anybody come to that, or is that, it's not going to happen? I mean, you know, like, well, like, you know, with our Baltimore Orioles, of course we have the grape jelly and the oranges. So, I mean, do a lot of your birds go to the bananas, or just some? I mean, the three that we saw were all going for that, for your area over there. I was just curious. I mean, I never even thought about bananas as being a source of bird food.
Well, I will say maybe Brad can answer that question better because I don't know the birds in your area, but for our area, definitely bananas are the top. But I will say probably because we have bananas here growing for decades now, for years and years, and the birds, they can quickly learn and switch the different. Like that, they come and pick it as well. So, but bananas, they've probably been seeing that as a that shape, that color, and everything as a source of food for who knows 100 years, and then probably more for the local banana. It's even 1,000 years, and then they identify that in the brains makes a quicker movement. But for your local birds, I don't know. There's probably other sources of food that are identified faster.
All right, sorry everyone, we just crashed Zoom apparently. So so sorry. I hope everyone can rejoin briefly. 1 second.
Sure.
Apologies everyone. Zoom just crashed itself.
We had a little crash there. So I wasn't sure if it was just me or if everyone else went out there. So I guess Zoom got hacked there for a few minutes. Looks like we're all back there. But the answer to the last Patty's question with bananas is if you're a banana fan, there is a whole world of bananas you can learn about because there's so many different types, and certain types over the years as different diseases have wiped some out that make for worldwide market. And so there was a really good, I think it's called Freakonomics podcast. It talked all about the history of bananas. And so when we think of just the banana, you think just one banana. And then if it's not a banana, it's a plantain. But there's so many different varieties, just like there are apples. And so they all have different flavors and sweetness and kind of fiber and carb levels, depending on what you got. So that's what kind of Juan was kind of hinting at was the different varieties. And you don't really realize that in the U.S. where we don't grow them. You get basically one kind that travels best in bulk to be able to get to the markets up here. And so it's very different depending on the type of banana. So I think that's one of the things I just learned from him is maybe to try different varieties if you can get it, different varieties of bananas, and maybe even try putting out plantains and do some tests in the spring. Because as you see, a lot of those birds that are eating them there's a lot of birds that we would see in February in Costa Rica, like Tennessee warbler, that were feeding on these bananas. And so I was very interested in putting them up there and doing a little test myself. And now I know to maybe increase the varieties of bananas and plantains and see what comes to your feeders. And that might be interesting to see not only in the spring, but also in the fall migration when things are returning, things that they recognize from that they would eating a food source. And that also reminds me of so do our birds, are they our birds that go to Costa Rica? Or are they his birds coming to us for a little while? So which is it? Whose birds are they, and where are they going for their part-time adventures? I'm sure, Juan, you call them your birds, right?
Of course. It's that's $1 million question. I will say it's a mix. They're born in the U.S. So they have U.S. visa for sure, but
Anchor babies.
But I must say a lot of them probably evolve from here. Kind of like humans too. Like they evolve here. Some of them, and then they learn to go up to the U.S. to have their babies, and then get the U.S. visa.
Yeah.
And that's probably, how the things move. So they are your birds because they are born there, but they originally were our birds. So you stole our birds.
They have dual citizenship is what we call it, Juan. They can go wherever they want, and they aren't stopped with a virus either. So they're much more fortunate this spring than we are.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're right.
So additionally, on Facebook, Carla asked, when do you stop feeding grape jelly? I've heard not to in June. And so there has been some stuff going along lately, getting posted to different birding groups saying, stop feeding your birds jelly and such. They're going to become like basically addicted to it, and they're not going to give their young the high protein diets. And basically, what we know is that bird feeding is a supplement to birds at most. It does not really generally become a dependent source for these birds. And birds that are up here in Indiana and in the United States right now, almost all these birds, you notice they're not at your bird feeder because they switch over to eating insects. And so I think the only breeder in Indiana I can think of that feeds its young seeds are goldfinch, and they're feeding the thistle. So things like chickadees and titmice and blue jays that are coming to your feeder, they're not feeding their young mat. They're catching insects, and so you see a general decline in your feeders in June. And so for the grapes and the oranges, if anything, by keeping grape jelly out and oranges, you're just providing supplement food for the orioles that are visiting. It's very unlikely these guys are taking that grape jelly and feeding their young. They're catching insects for them. So I think there's a lot of misinformation. There are other folks that know a lot about bird feeding. If we have Brian Cunningham here today, he could probably speak to that as well. But so I would not be too concerned if you keep the grape jelly out to want to enjoy your orioles through the month of June. I've always done it. It's never been a big issue that I've found.
Well, I noticed that my orioles have gone, but the gray catbirds come to that feeder with the grape jelly and the orange. So I see there's two of them, and they live up over in the spruce tree next to me, and they'll come down. So they're kind of enjoying it now while the orioles have seemed to have moved on. So I'm just going to keep putting it out because apparently somebody still wants to come to that feeder. But I'd never seen a gray catbird come to the grape jelly, but they're out there pretty much every day, and I can see them just getting a little bit and then they take off. So.
Yep. So I got one other thing. What we want to do actually is I do have a little Costa Rica bird quiz. We're going to give away a prize here before we finish up, and I know we're probably going to end up going over a little bit, but we got also Bill Sharkey's with us this morning here. Juan joined us on our Zoom, and so you can see he's there if you scroll through your videos. But Bill asked a rather ho-hum question, was what was the Shrike Tanager that led the mixed groups of birds? And so that's a whole interesting aspect of these different they ant shrikes and such that kind of capitalize on a very interesting aspect of the rainforest.
Yeah, hi Bill. Nice to have you here. Yeah, the Shrike Tanager was called white-throated Shrike Tanager. It's an amazing, type of bird. Is quite big and middle-sized, white, black, and yellow colors. Very, very strong bill with a hook tip at the end. That's one flock leader. Mixed species flocks. It's one of the biggest challenges and mysteries still in neotropical ornithology. We are every year learning new things, and one thing we know is that vocal birds with a wide vocal repertoire, with a lot of songs and calls, alarm calls, they are normally they are having an essential role on mixed flock leadings and on behavior of the whole flock. Because for the ones of you that don't know about it, it's because birds, tropical birds in native pristine rainforests, they find it extremely hard to move by themselves. So because there's so many predators, because it's hard to find food. So what they do is that they get together, maybe not voluntary, but they just happen to be moving in the rainforest. They heard one bird that makes a lot of noises and inform what is happening around. So they tend to forage next to that one because it's convenient. And then there are more birds behind that see all that movement, and that movement scares, small insects and easy prey in the forest canopy. So they go behind them too. So that happens over and over, in different levels, that ended up being groups of, 300 individuals, 8 or 10 different species. And that's relatively normal when you're birding the rainforest down here. And in that context, white-throated Shrike Tanager with a very complex system of, calls and alarm calls. And, they have, different type of alarm calls depending on what is happening, what's the prey, is a raptor, is a snake, is a branch falling down. So that is very convenient for the birds. So I think that's probably what Bill is talking about, and yeah, there's several birds that does that, but the Shrike Tanager is one pretty cool one.
A very interesting aspect of birding Costa Rica is you have all these different other family groups that we're not used to up here, and different behaviors that have evolved to respond to just all the different interactions and things that go on. No matter what the
I have one.
are.
I'm sorry, Brad. I have
Yeah.
one more species for today's list, and this is a nice one. Let me give it a little bit of zoom. It's far. It's not close. It's not gonna come to the feeders. I've never seen this bird in a feeder. Probably come, but can you see anything else besides a green spot on your computer?
Yeah, I see. It looks like parakeets or parrots.
Yes, you're right. Can you see any red on them? No? Well, if you don't see it, it's because there is no red in there. So you're right with the field mark. They are completely green in the back. They are olive below. They have a white eye-ring. They have a kind of pale bill as well. There are two of them sitting on a top of a dry branch. And those are, if you see a parakeet with no red at all, in Caribbean lowlands, you must be sure that this is an olive-throated parakeet. Olive-throated parakeet, which Alexander Scotch and Gary Stiles in their book. Oh, there's a third one coming in. Alexander Scotch and Gary Stiles suggested these parakeets are an indicator of good ecosystem nearby, good health in the ecosystem. I have no idea why, because I've seen them in disturbed areas and rural areas, but maybe it's not disturbed enough, which suggests we are relatively good in here.
Mm-hmm. And repeat
olive-throated.
Oh, you're saying
olive-throated parakeet.
Olive-throated parakeet. Excellent bird.
Yeah, they are in a very famous genus of parakeets that they recently changed, but in the past they were in a big genus of parakeets called Aratinga. But they have pointing tails, pointed tails, long and pointed tails. Those type of tails, that are like sharp and long. It's diagnostic from that Aratinga group. Oh, look, it's stretching its wings. They recently changed the genus, so now they are Sitacara. But it's a really nice parakeet. Specialty of Caribbean lowlands of Costa Rica, actually. I mean, well, not only Costa Rica, they go up to Nicaragua, probably Honduras as well, and down to Panama. There you go, they're moving.
Excellent. So at any minute, is a great green macaw going to fly over?
I just heard one when we were just about starting this conversation. I heard one. I don't know if you noticed, at one point of the meeting, I stand up and I start walking, looking at the sky like crazy, because I was thinking it's gonna fly over, but I have no idea how to show you that. But they great green macaws. They fly here every day. I heard them every day in small groups. But the thing is that they rarely perch. They perch only when they find enough food. And there's a type of almond close by. Oh, they flew away. Got scared by probably a grackle.
Those watching online, great green macaw is an endangered species that is critically rare in Costa Rica even, and has restricted range in just the northern area, kind of between that Arenal and La Selva area too. So one that if you try to look up on eBird is even restricted in showing
yeah, right.
The numbers that are left there. So pretty good bird to be able to see there. How about we do a little bird quiz for everybody? And so we're kind of finish up our coffee and COrVIDs today with a little bird ID quiz of the birds of Costa Rica, some of the most common ones. And so what we'll do is whether you are here at Zoom, we have a little chat box you can open up and type in the answer of the bird. On Facebook, you can type in the answers there. Sam's going to keep score here, not just the first one, but the first. We'll take the. I think we could even do the first 3 to 5 correct answers. We'll record here, and we'll add up there, and we'll tell you, who's got the highest one. We got a prize to give away, actually a prize from Costa Rica. And what I happen to have here today is if you win today's bird quiz, you win 1,000 colones in Costa Rica money. And so this is 1,000. So 1,000 Costa Rica colones. And so maybe pay for an airplane flight or some guiding or a hotel room. Juan, if you have 1,000 colones, what can you buy with this?
Oh, wow. I can't imagine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
That's a great prize. That's a great prize. I mean, wow, I'm surprised you're giving that away.
1,000 colones.
1,000. I mean, I can't imagine how many candies I can buy with that.
So
how many? Yeah.
The truth be told, 1,000 Costa Rica colones is roughly equivalent to $1.75. But this is a great starter for your trip to Costa Rica. So you can hang this on the fridge and remind you what you're saving up for on your next trip there. So and it's a really cool bill. They have some really great security features that make it a really neat thing to have. And so we're going to give this away and mail it here to the winner. 1,000 Costa Rica colones here with a bird quiz. So let me share my screen here, and we will start. Let me see if we can start that. So there, and so share that, and then let me do this slideshow. All right. So let's do some birds of Costa Rica. See if you guys can get this. So you're going to put the answers in either in the Zoom chat or in the Facebook chat. So and there's obviously a great view not too far from Juan at the Arenal Volcano National Park, which is, if you go there, there's actually a kind of a park office, and there's an interpretive panel that talks about one specific bird, looking at the motmots of the Arenal volcano, and Indiana Audubon actually helped to fund that particular interpretive sign in conjunction with the Arenal National Park and Life for Nature tours. And we got to visit it in the ground that Juan was able to help coordinate. So you'll actually see the Indiana Audubon logo if you happen to make it to the Arenal volcano. But let's do the #1 bird here. So if you think you know what it is, throw it in the Zoom chat or the Facebook messages there, or I'm sorry, the comment section, and we'll see if you guys can get this one. So the #1 bird we have, we gotta figure out how to advance the slide. There we go. What is that bird? Type it in there if you know what this bird is of Costa Rica. I'll give you guys some time, especially for those that are on a little delay there. We'll compile everyone that got a correct answer. #1 bird here. So a lot of folks, this is a highly sought after species that you're wanting to see. I don't think it's flying around Juan's place today, but you get a little higher in elevation, and I think it's when you can find it. And,
right.
As we're studying for Ecuador birds too for our trip next year, there's not just this specific species, but there's other kinds that have the same last name as this bird. And Matt Nikolewski says, think there's one thing Guatemala has in Costa Rica is that their money is literally named for them. Yeah, there's a little hint there. And so if you know it there, you can put it into the Facebook. So we can give out a prize here, give out some Costa Rican colones today. And Juan, what is this bird?
Well, that's a national bird, Guatemala. You're right. That's a resplendent quetzal.
Resplendent quetzal. And where we at in Costa Rica?
That's going to be in the highlands of Talamanca Mountains and also Monteverde. So it's a cloud forest species. So it tends to be a little bit higher than where I am right now.
Yeah. So real beautiful bird up higher in the elevations there. And of course, that'd be east of San Jose, the Talamancas, or closer to Arenal is Monteverde. Let's do another one. #2. What is that bird? Give you guys some time. Type it in, whether you're You're on Facebook live with us or on the Zoom chat. Number 2, we were talking about earlier is on our last Indiana Audubon tour, we were amazed to see 10 or I think 11 species of owls. And this was one of the first ones that we saw. You guys some time to type in there, what is this species? I've already given you a hint that it's an owl, so you know the second word.
Yeah, just to talk about a little bit about this owl. This gotta be the strongest resident, owl of Costa Rica. It's relatively common, and this one gets to my house. I heard it here at night. We found a baby of this owl not too long ago in a close by house here. It just came to the yard of someone here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's an owl that it's impressively strong and big, but it's also relatively common in Caribbean lowlands in some areas, especially if there is some forest nearby. It's just that it's, as all owls, is hard to detect, unless it calls.
Yes.
But there's even one record of this owl preying on a three-throated sloth. This type of mammal that is good size. In Panama, there is one record of this owl, preying on that, eating a baby or a juvenile three-throated sloth, which is pretty impressive.
So we've given them enough time. What is this species?
By the white around the eyes that makes like a spectacle, like glasses.
Okay.
It's called spectacle owl.
Spectacle
Yeah,
owl.
which is pretty impressive bird.
Okay, let's do a couple more here. Next one. What is this bird? Number 3. You know the answer there. Throw it in the chats or the Facebook comment section. Again, we're giving out a prize of 1,000 Costa Rican colones.
That's another bird that will, eventually, if you stay here with me enough during the day, we will eventually see one around, because they tend to sing in the afternoons here by my house. It's a very interesting bird. They love the fruits. They come to the feeder. They come to my feeder here in the yard, but mostly when the rain starts. They normally don't do it when it's dry, because they prefer other fruits.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as it's rainy, they just come here.
And so number 3, what is this bird? Juan?
That's by the combination of colors on its bill. It's a keel-billed toucan. Keel-billed toucan. K-E-E-L. Keel-billed toucan.
And this species was split, correct, from a larger name?
Well, not this one. This one stayed for quite a while. There's another big toucan that is called yellow-throated toucan now. Yellow-throated toucan has been changing its name the last 3 or 4 years, maybe 3 or 4 times. So yellow-throated toucan was called black-mandible toucan, then Swainson's toucan at the beginning, and then it came back to yellow-throated toucan, and now it's in yellow-throated toucan. But keel-billed toucan was called, the only other name I recall for this bird was in the 80s, that it was named rainbow-billed toucan, which is a very appropriate name for its, beautiful colored bill.
So if you happen to type in today yellow-throated toucan, we'll go ahead and count that for you. And I think if you want to try to get to your feeders in Indiana, I think the theory is you put out Fruit Loops, and that's how you'll get them. So give it a, Okay, number 4. Here we go. Anybody know what number 4 is? Maybe the toughest one in the morning. A little blurry on my screen.
Yeah, that's a good one and tough one.
Give you a few more seconds here. And of course, I suppose if you could just get to the not necessarily species level, but
if I
general group of birds.
with this group of birds, birds, these passerines, the key, look at the combination yellow and, what if the throat is dark. With that, if you have options, you will rule out half. And then second thing you have to look at, it's the crown, and then you gotta compare crown, and it would be nice to give location, because that also helps a lot. Once you have crown size and blue throat, you that's the giveaway. And if we assume this bird is in Caribbean lowlands, I mean, there's only one choice, and that will be, can I say it, Brad? Or?
Yeah, go ahead and say it.
Okay, that would be yellow-crowned euphonia.
Okay. So yellow-crowned euphonia. I'll give you a point if you got it to euphonia. Euphonia is kind of tricky there. But yeah, if you're Juan Diego's had some young ones jumping around his yard, and so kind of a unique opportunity to kind of highlight this bird this morning. So let's finish up here. Let's do number 5. We don't have a lot of time left here. What is this one? I think this is a Juan Diego photo, I believe.
Yeah, good.
So number 5, bird Costa Rica. They have a really interesting display with the wings. If you know what this bird is, type it in to the Zoom chat or the Facebook Live comment section.
Yeah, this
Samantha's keeping score for everyone. And they're also at Lincoln Park Zoo, is what Matt Igleski says. So Park Zoo is hoarding all of the tropical birds. You can go visit them. Matt, if you're also typing in there, do we know a status on like when that zoo is opening so we can go see these birds if you don't want to travel that far? Give a couple more seconds. Carol Goodall on Facebook yelled out Rio Perlas. Is that where the Indiana Audubon saw the bird? And Matt says unsure on the zoo. So we're not going anywhere right now to see a sunbeam. Oh, almost said it. Juan, what is the bird?
Okay, this bird, this is a very, I mean, it's a stunner. Yeah, it's a very, very interesting bird. Very wide range, it goes all the way down to Brazil, although it's another subspecies. And the pattern on the wings is to scare predators away when they are close to the nest. It's an amazing pattern. It's called sunbittern. Sunbittern. Yeah, it's not a bittern. It's not a sun. No, but I mean, it's just a combination of words they put together, but it does not belong to the heron family, or it's not even close to that. They have their own family, their own monotypical family. Very interesting creatures.
Great. Was this particular photo also taken in Rio Perlas?
Yes, correct. Yeah, this one was taken in Rio Perlas. Actually, as you can see, there is concrete on below, and this is because this bird in Rio Perlas, which Audubon Society traveled last time, the hotel has a big pond in middle of a garden there. And this particular bird like to nest right above the ponds or lagoons, normally fast flowing rivers. And this one was nesting close by, and I just sat down and wait, and then it starts stretching its wings, and on a daily basis they do that. And I took this picture when he was cleaning his wings and everything, and calling constantly, because the nesting season was starting by then. That was taken at the beginning of this year.
Bill Sharkey says it was right next to a pile of rocks. A little joke there. Okay, so there's our 5 Costa Rica trip. Oh, you know what? Let's do one more. Let's do a bonus bird. I'll tell you what, if bonus bird, we'll add it to get an extra point here today. So let's do one more bird. There it is right there. Here's our last one. Speaking of pile of rocks. You can guess this bird. We'll add an extra point there, and we'll get 1,000 Costa Rica colonias today.
Wow. There's 2 birds on that picture, in case people haven't noticed. One baby and one adult. babies of that species are mostly white, kind of gray white, to blend in with the branches they are normally standing. Pretty cryptic coloration. Eyes are closed. It's a nocturnal species. It's a good sized bird, you know. It's a, and they are strictly nocturnal. They during daytime they pretend to be dead branches, you know, pointing its bill up and closing their eyes and relying on their cryptic plumage to look just like part of the branch.
Yeah, really interesting bird. So do you want to tell us what species this is?
Sure. There are 3 species of putus, but this one, given the the size of its head and especially that pattern with kind of whitish gray and dark brown plumage, I will go with a great putu.
Correct. Yeah. So great putu, and the other putus in Costa Rica are.
The other ones are common putu, which have yellow eyes, which is very distinctive. In case you find a sleeping one like this, it will be, the color is not so white. So great putu is mostly white on their cryptic coloration. The other one is mostly like tan brown, darker, with some black stripes on its chest particularly. And the other third type of putu is northern putu, which is identical to common putu, but you can tell them by voice and by range.
Excellent. So, and that was a bird that Indiana Audubon got to see sleeping in the daytime and then out to his common hunting post at night. And it looks like this giant Muppet sitting up there in the tree. And what are they, when he was perching out there at night, what was he hunting after?
They hunt insects mostly. Remember, this bird is not an owl. This bird, well, is their own family, which is putus, and then the family relies on really big mouths, so they fly and they catch insects in flight like a nightjar, but they sit like an owl. So if you have to put this bird, in between two, it will be something in between a nightjar and an owl. It has features of both. They sometimes, in the case of the great putu, sometimes they are so big and their mouth is so big that for them catching up a small bat, it's a relatively easy thing. And there are research that show that this great putu relies a lot on small bats. That's part of their diet.
Excellent. Yeah, it's really cool birds to be able to see. And how many total species of birds are in Costa Rica?
Right now is over 900, like 912, of total species. It's, of course, there's a lot of, rarities and vagrants on that list, but yeah, it's about that.
Excellent. Wow, some great birding opportunities. And so we've had Juan Diego Vargas, with founder of Lifer Nature Tours, live in Costa Rica this morning. And so we definitely thank you that you were able to stream in here and join us for our Coffee and COrVIDs event. We just did a little bit of a Costa Rica bird quiz, and Sam was keeping score of all the guesses, both on our Zoom chat and on our Facebook messages. And Sam, do we have a winner of 1,000 Costa Rica colonies today?
The winner of the big 1,000 Costa Rica colonies is Julie. Congrats.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank you all for playing.
So we will put this in the mail. I'll get some insurance on it and have it shipped to you as you begin planning your next Costa Rica adventure.
Hey, you can keep it as a deposit.
What?
You can keep that as a deposit for my next trip.
There's a
With
deposit.
Juan.
So just put that down there for that right away. So we're happy that as we kind of continue Coffee and COrVIDs in through June and July, that we can bring in some special guests to join us, because just the nature of being live, we can do it all around the world. And so it's great having Juan report back some of the different birds that he's seeing this morning, and some of the lifers that you guys are all going to e-bird to the Indiana list for the reporters that we get today. So definitely thanks for joining us, Juan. And if you have any other questions for him, whether on the Facebook comments, you can go ahead and put them in throughout the day, and we'll get those forward to him or tag him so that he can help answer those a little bit later there. But I will turn things over to Sam as we wrap up. A little late this morning. A lot of good content and questions and comments from everybody.
Hey, that's all right. But yeah, like Brad said, thank you so much for joining us on Coffee and COrVIDs, Juan. We appreciate it. And if anything, we at least got to see some awesome scenery and some birds and check it out. So appreciate everyone coming. And like Brad said, next week we have our first Pints and Passerines, which is in the evening. So that's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. It should be the
5 p.m. Costa Rican time.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Sure, I'll be in.
Yeah, jump right in. Our guests next week are going to be Eric and Hannah of the Hannah and Eric Go Birding podcast. So there'll be some info coming out on that as well. So stay tuned, and thanks again for joining us. Sorry to keep you late, but we just had so much great stuff to talk about. So
Okay, but
Thanks, Juan.
bye-bye.
It was awesome. Thank you.
thanks again,
Thank
Juan.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate the invitation. I appreciate the time. I hope you enjoyed my birds here in the yard. And
Yes,
just
we did.
one last note. At Life for Nature Tours, we're offering now live tours as well. You know, it's relatively very cheap, option to just do birding in Costa Rica live and just getting familiar with the birds here. We have a lot to show in this area.
And what
So,
website
yeah.
should we go to visit you at?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, exactly. www.lifertours.com, and you can just check that out. And we will be updating a little bit more later this week, so you can check that out. And then you can, if you want, you can book for a live tour in Costa Rica from your house, and just learn the birds from there.
Do it.
Add to your life list.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and get pictures.
There you go.
All right. Thanks,
Awesome.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you.